Hi, this is Hot Chocolate with Paul, and this is Columbus Day weekend. I do still call it Columbus Day weekend only because it's a habit. But the main thing that stands out to me is something that happened 2 years ago, which means that Columbus Day is a very special day to me now. And let me explain why. At that point, 2 years ago, my daughter Melissa had been homeless and on the streets for a while. And she was addicted to drugs. I was aware of it. And it was the absolute worst thing in my life that ever happened. So on the morning of Columbus Day 2022, I was not scheduled to come into work that day because the kids had school off. So it was around 6:30 in the morning, and I was just kind of laying in bed. Stacey was getting ready for work, and all of a sudden I started receiving some private messages from a few people telling me that Melissa was on her Facebook page asking for help. So I contacted her. She told me where she was. I said, I'll be out there as soon as I can. So knowing where she was coming from, I had it in my mind that I was going to take her straight to a hospital as soon as I picked her up. I didn't care whether she tried to argue with me or what. So I came down the street. I saw her where she said she was going to be. She got in the car, and I said, I'm taking you to a hospital. Which one do you want to go to? She says, I don't care. Just get me out of here. So I did. I picked a hospital that was closest to my home. Took her into the emergency room. They took her in pretty much right away. Started asking her a lot of questions, did tests on her, and I was in there. I heard the whole thing. I heard her whole story. When it came down to a physical examination, I left to run some errands. And by the time I got back, she was ready to be taken to a rehab facility. And that's where I took her, made sure she stayed there, didn't leave or anything. And very, very happily, I am so happy that as of today, she is clean. She has been sober for 2 years straight. It's the best thing that could have happened out of all of that, and I am so thrilled. It's been a long road for her for the past 2 years. It hasn't been easy. There have been times when she was ready to give in and fall off the wagon, but she never did. So it worked out well for her. And today, she's celebrating being clean for 2 years. She has a new job that she's been on for just a little over a year that she loves. She says it's the best job she's ever had. So with that, I have some thoughts about what came up to that point. I did go for counseling. It was recommended to me that I read a certain book about codependency, things like that. And what I learned is, as I started reading the book about codependency, is I wasn't really getting anything out of it. Among other things, it talked about, and my counselor talked about the tough love approach, a lot of different things. With my point being that none of those were really working. And one of the things that I really learned is that even the experts aren't right about every case. Every case is different. And that was the situation with Melissa. Here I was trying to do some tough love with her, and what was really happening was it was making it worse for her. And I didn't realize that at first, but eventually I did come to realize that and needed to change my approach to how I dealt with her. So that was a big lesson. I'm sure the book about codependency is an excellent book. I know it is. But again, in Melissa's case, it wasn't the right prescription for me in how to deal with her. Those are some interesting lessons for me to learn. And I guess the message I'm putting out there is, if you got a situation going on in your life or with your families, somebody in your family, listen to advice, but then it's your life, it's their life. They're the one that's going to have to sit down and really figure out what works for you. I'm also reminded of something, and I don't even know if Melissa would remember this, but way back when she was in kindergarten or first grade or something like that, she was assigned something to read over school break. And she kept putting it off, and she never did this reading assignment. And then later on, we found out why. It's because when she got back to school, she knew that she was going to have to stand up in front of everybody and tell everybody what book it was that she read and a little bit about it. And that was the part she was trying to avoid. She did not want to stand up in front of people. It's another lesson that you can't treat everybody the same. Everybody has their different individual personalities, their different needs, their different likes and dislikes. And you really have to pay attention to what you need for yourself or what a friend or family member needs and adapt to this situation. A lot of lessons to be learned. But again, just closing out with my thoughts about Melissa, making it 2 years drug-free. I'm so proud of her. I love her. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what she can do with her life from this point on. So that's all I have to say for today. I'm Paul Packish. This has been Hot Chocolate with Paul. Have a good day.